والآن أتشرف بدعوة مدير تطوير قطاع الأعمال في تطبيقات الدفاع والأمن. Now I would like to introduce our next speaker, Mr. Francois Debrou, Manager Business Development, Defense and Security from McDonald Detweiler and Associates, who will give us presentation about remote sensing with RadarSat SAR program.
Assalamu alaikum. It's a pleasure to be here. My second time in Cairo, and I'm here to talk to you about the SAR program that we have at MDA. MDA is an engineering firm. So just briefly, I'm going to be talking about who MDA is, what we do in geospatial services, what is SAR, or synthetic aperture radar, our current satellite, the RadarSat-2 sensor, and what's going to happen beyond the RadarSat-2 sensor, and then I will go over some of the applications that we have both on land and in the ocean, or maritime applications. So the company is about 45 years old. It's based in Vancouver, Canada, on the west coast. It's a pretty large organization. It's about $2 billion revenue a year and close to 5,000 employees. So we do different things. One of the things we are famous for is communication satellite solutions. Also, we do intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance systems, mostly for military, for the navies, and different organizations around the world. We also build robotic system. If you've been familiar with the space station, the International Space Station, just above us in space, well, there's a robotic arm, and MDA built that robotic arm. And then finally, there's the geospatial division called GSI, which I'm part of, and we are resellers of radar data and also services. We have a global presence. All those little dots, I'm not going to go through them, but basically we have customers quite around the world. Different customers, the yellow ones are the communications customers, sorry, and then geospatial services customers are in red. So there's quite a big picture. So what do we do at the geospatial services? Well, we're trying to provide information solutions, reliable information solutions, near real time, and based on spatial data for operational environment. And we do that 24/7, 365 days a year. So the key business is obviously taking care of the RadarSat-2 sensor, so with the exclusive distributor. We also operate the RadarSat-2 mission, which means that we task satellite and make sure that it stays healthy. And it's been going on now for almost 10 years, so it's doing good. And to that, we provide value-added services to a variety of applications and different users around the world. We also provide and organize a global network of ground stations, and I will talk to you a bit later on about this. So, this is a bit of a funky slide, but essentially, this is what a SAR satellite looked like and how it imaged the Earth. So, first of all, it's a bit different than an optical sensor in the sense that it doesn't take an image right away. Basically, it sends a radar signal down to the Earth. It will hit a target, whether it be a house, a forest, the desert, the water, a ship, and then it will return that with a certain intensity, and it will create an image based on that. Now, you can also move the beam to the right or to the left, and then angle it in with a different angle, and that will help you get different type of information. So I'm not going to go too technical on this, but essentially if you compare it to an optical sensor image vertically at azimuth, and then the radar sensor is more on the right side. So there's a bunch of parameters that affect how an image is taken, and this highlights on the, whoops, I just turned up the, there it goes, sorry. What I just said about how it hits different things and how it reacts differently. But so some of the parameters that affect it is how rough the surface is. So the sea, for example, the water is usually very flat, so it will appear quite dark. But then trees or structures will appear brighter on the image because it's not plain. So the moisture, the material, the orientation, the roughness of the surface will affect how the image looks like. From the sensor point of view, you can think of it as when you have a camera and you try to zoom and you look at different angle, whether you take an entire scenery or you want to zoom at one particular person. So the beam mode, the angle, the look direction, and also the polarization frequency are quite important. So why would we use a sensor that brings you a grainy black and white image rather than the right nice resolution? Well, the first major difference is that it's unaffected by weather or the day or night. So it's not taking a picture, it's sending a radar signal, as I said, and therefore it's its own illumination. You don't need to have the sun to illuminate the target. So it will take an image, whether you're taking it in the middle of the night, whether it's rainy, whether it's cloudy, it will not change anything. So it can take imagery around the year, year-round coverage, sorry, and it's quite accurate to monitor changes. So the RADARSAT-2 sensor, which is the current one in operation, was launched just under 10 years ago. It has 20 different beam modes, and the spatial resolution goes from 1 meter to 100 meter. And we have swath width going from 18 kilometers to 530, which is quite wide. And of course, you can compare it. The bigger you go, the coarser the resolution goes. So that gives you, sorry, second time, I'm not very good with this. That gives you a scene size of between 144 square kilometers to 265,000 square kilometers. So another thing to consider when you imaging the Earth with a sensor is how much data you can actually acquire. There's different SAR sensors around the world, different missions, and the RADARSAT-2 satellite has the biggest capacity on any SAR missions. You can also figure out what the right coverage is and the right combination, depending on the resolution and the size that you want. So this is a pretty picture of all the different beam modes that we have, from the highest resolution smaller mode to the biggest one that covers a large area of interest and everything in between. And again, the satellite goes up that way, and then the imagery is going on the right. You can also look on the left, but most of the time we look on the right side. So this gives you an idea of the different size of, and that's only 5 of them, but the big one in black here, this is over England. You can see here is London, the bright spot there. That's 500 by 500, of course, coarser resolution, and you can go lower and lower. So it gives you a chance to adapt and adjust what you want to do, depending on what you do. Of course, I'm going to give you an example that sounds strange, but in Egypt you don't have icebergs. In the water you don't have icebergs because the water is too warm. But when you're monitoring iceberg, when you're trying to make sure that ships have safe passage, for example, in the North Atlantic, you don't want them to hit an iceberg. And an iceberg, it's detected quite well on using the SAR satellite and the RADARSAT-2 image. And of course, you don't need a 1 meter resolution for that because an iceberg is quite large. So you can use, a coarser resolution, but then that gives you the ability to use a bigger scene, a bigger image, and then you can catch a lot of icebergs on that. So this is a bit of a history on the RADARSAT mission. It started, well over 20 years ago. In '95, we launched RADARSAT-1. It had the revisit time of 24 days, same with RADARSAT-2, which was launched in 2007. And we're going now with the RCM, which will be launched summer 2018, so in about 2 years. And RCM stands for RADARSAT Constellation Mission. So it will be a constellation of 3 satellites, a little bit smaller than the 2 predecessors. The advantage is that we'll have now daily coverage rather than 2-3 days over the same area. And then we even extend the on-orbit capacity, which was 28 minutes. Just so you know, RADARSAT is flying about 35,000 kilometers an hour, so it takes about 90 minutes to circle the Earth, to orbit the Earth. So out of 90 minutes, about a third is what the capacity is per orbit, so it's pretty big. So the RCM has a smaller capacity, but you have to think that there's 3 satellites, so that's 45 minutes per orbit, which is still pretty good. So it will be seen in C-band, which is great for all application on water. It still works well on land, but it was really designed specifically for maritime application. It will also be increased operational. Why and how? Because it will be shorter time to task and to deliver product. It's optimized for coherent change detection. And also, one of the big incentives is this little thing here called AIS, which is the system that ships use to get identified. And so the RareSat2 doesn't have that on board, so we partner with different AIS vendors, but RCM will have a built-in SAR and AIS into one sensor, ×3 of course, to provide the ability to track ship more effectively. And as I said, it's being built at the moment and will launch in about 2 years in July. All right, so now we're great. So we understand what SAR sensor can do. We understand that we have a satellite in the air or in space, but what do we do with the data? Well, like in every system that's spaceborne, you need a ground station. You need an antenna to receive that. And if you don't have a lot of antennas around the world, you have to wait that the satellite circle the globe and to go over your antenna so that you can downlink the data. So the ability to operate a network of ground station really helped for applications that are time sensitive. Right now, and I don't know we can really see on this, but this is a map of the globe with North and South America here, and Africa, Europe, and Asia. All those green circles represent a ground station that we operate alone or with partners. Some of them are not even represented here because they're military station and they're kind of hidden. But you can see there's a lot of stations around Europe, which is where we started. Not much. There's nothing here in South America, and part of Africa is covered here because we have a station in La Réunion Island, and then some of the European stations cover the north part of the continent. So how does that work? Basically, anytime the satellite is over one of these stations, you can downlink data right away. So it's automatic. It'll take a few minutes, but you can write. Whereas if you take an image here somewhere in the South Atlantic, you have to wait that either if it's an ascending path that it goes up and reach one of the stations, or if it's a descending path that goes around the world and back to a station again. So of course, it's great to have a station where we can downlink data. It helps again for anything that's time sensitive. If it's an emergency, or if you're tracking something and it's important, right away. So once you have that, you now have your sensor that's flying, you have your network of ground station. What do you do with the data? There's a lot of application that can be done for both civil and military personnel, and I'm going to go through some of them in more details. But generally speaking, you can group them in two separate ones. So one would be the maritime applications, and then the land application. So for the maritime application, I start with this one because it's a preference of mine, and also for a good reason, is that we live on this great planet, and about 70% of the Earth is covered in water. So that's a lot of water, and we do a lot with that water. We fish, we transport goods, we extract oil from the bottom of the ocean. So it's a very important part of it. And again, and I mentioned that yesterday during my workshop, Egypt plays a key role because Egypt is taking care of the Suez Canal, and a lot of goods are going through the Suez Canal annually. It's close to 900 million tons of goods that are transiting through the canal. So you want to make sure that you know what's going on, you want to make sure that everything is safe, and there's a solution for you to help you manage what's going on in the water. So some of the users that would be helped with the maritime application, of course, the Navy, Coast Guards, but also law enforcement, border control, fisheries, and environmental protection. So what do you do now? What do this agency need to do? If you're the Navy or the Coast Guard, you need to make sure that nobody is going through your territory that you don't know of. If you are working with the fisheries, well, you want to make sure that all the fishing boats that are in your area are actually legally supposed to be here. Not so much of a problem here, but in some other parts of the world, there's piracy, people hijacking tankers and help people at ransom to get some money. Of course, we want to avoid any disaster. There's a lot of tankers that cross the world with a lot of oil, and sometimes, unfortunately, accident happens. And there's oil or other type of material that gets into the ocean, and then it's endanger the fauna and the flora. So we need to monitor that as well. There's also some sneaky people who try to smuggle different type of goods, and then they know that the people are watching, so what they do is they transport from bigger ship to smaller vessels so that they can enter different ports. So there's a way to monitor that as well. So really, what are these agencies trying to find, and what are the questions that they need to answer? They want to know what are the vessels that are in this area of interest, whether it's the EEZ or other area. They want to know what, as much as they can about those vessels. Can we classify it? Is it a cargo ship? Is it a navy ship? Is it a fishing trawler? And then, are these vessels reporting? Again, any vessel that's over 300 tons is supposed to have its AIS turned on, but a lot of them are not turning it on. There was a survey made recently that basically about 55% of the vessels are not reporting AIS, so you want to know what's going on. So maybe some vessels are a threat. And what else is happening? Is there any oil? Is there the oil platform, the oil rigs that are in the water safe? Everything's going on. So all of these are the questions that you're trying to answer. So this is a subset of a 5-meter resolution image. So it's the scene is supposed to be 125 kilometers by 125 kilometers. You cannot tell what ship it is. You cannot tell its name, its destination, but you can extract some information. As a trained analyst, and if you listened to Randy this morning, and if you were at this workshop yesterday, show you there's a lot of things you can extract from it. This is what I was telling you earlier about how the water appears darker, and then different target appears really brighter. And you can extract a lot. It seems that there's a structure here at the back, so it would mean that it's more like of a cargo ship type. Same thing here, where you see the structure around here and different things on decks. So there is some classification that can be done, and that can be helpful. Of course, having the imagery alone is not enough, and whatever system you have can also help as well. So MDA has developed a product called Bluehawk, which is an online portal allowing you to track what's happening in the water. Those square and rectangle here represent the different SAR images that have been acquired. The blue dots are the vessel reporting AIS, and the yellow ones are the ones that are not reporting AIS but have been detected. And of course, this is the Gulf of Yemen, and this is the Red Sea, and then the Suez Canal is up north here. So this is a tool that we have that we can use, and there's a series of filters. We detect and load the imagery onto it, and then you can track ships that way. And if you decide there's a ship of interest, a vessel of interest, then you can sell a patrol boat or a plane to go check. They have a closer look and then identify that vessel. Okay, land applications. Again, many different things you can do. I'll try to do a bit faster because I'm pressed on time. Flooding, forestry, defense application, crop monitoring, oil and gas. There's a lot of things you can do with SAR image. Essentially, it's great for monitoring change and then monitoring the resources like crop classification, harvest detection, or the forestry, disaster management, flood. Appears quite brightly on an image. Here is basically we apply 2 images and we see the change between before and after the flood, and we can see the extent of that flood. Same thing with earthquake impact assessment. We also use RadarSat satellites to do DTM and do elevation models. And a big thing is surface movement monitoring. So again, we use 2 images and we use interferometry to detect changes in land. So if you're an oil company and you dig the ground and then you look for oil, after a while there's a hole in between them. The land has the tendency to sink, and it's dangerous if there's cities around and different type of buildings. So you need to be aware of how the ground is doing, and the same thing for asset integrity. For defense application, specifically on land, the radar satellite, SAR satellites are great at detecting changes, what was there before and it's not there anymore, or what has appeared on the image. There's a lot of application, there's a lot of things you can do with that. So, but let's not fool ourselves, you know, just having a SAR image is not intelligence. This is just an image, there's nothing else. But if you do some identification and you start doing things, then it starts to become information. What does this look like to you? Can anybody tell me? It's kind of a neat line, right? And this looks like some kind of a road, maybe. Maybe this is a field. If you're an analyst and if you've seen a few of this, then you know that it's a bunch of plants. This is a base, and it is a SAR image, an optical image, and you can detect things that have changed and what the buildings are and what they're doing over there. Again, by using two images and comparing the changes, you can map where things have changed. And this is the west coast of Libya, and you see that on the optical image, this is what's happening here. This is the highway. There was not much, but over two images, we see that change had happened. Maybe this building that had been destroyed because of the civil war. Maybe they've been building things. Maybe ships were underground. We don't know, but there's a good way of detecting those changes. And this is one of my last examples. This is, this is the Syrian and Turkish border, and then this straight line here is basically a minefield where to prevent people from crossing. And this is the city of Kobani, and you can tell those red dots are actually the change that were detected using radar from two different images. The city has changed because of the shelling, the bombing, and buildings that have been destroyed. And as a result of the war also, these are actually refugee camps that are on the border. This is the biggest one. This is not, now this is 2 years ago, but it's still happening as we speak. If we zoom in, you can see, even though these are just people, and this image is supposed to be, sorry. Even though these are just people, they can be detected because of the difference, the different coherence. So there's really a lot of things you can do with radar. It's not a pretty picture by any means. It's not like optical data. It's black and white. It's gray, but the change appears quite quickly. And last thing I want to tell you is, you've heard on the presentation today a lot of it on remote sensing, on software, on SAR data, on optical data, and there's not one single solution. There's not one thing that will help you solve all your problem. But a combination of all those techniques and all those solutions will certainly help you live a better life and solve some of those problems. Shukran.